Imagine having everything. Not almost everything, everything. More money than you could spend in 100 lifetimes. A palace so magnificent that visiting royalty fainted at the sight of it. 700 wives. Wisdom so legendary that kings and queens traveled across deserts just to sit at your feet and listen. Now imagine reaching the end of your life, looking back at all of it, and whispering 3 devastating words. It was meaningless. That man existed. His name was Solomon, king of Israel, and by every measure history gives us he was the richest and wisest man who ever lived. And yet, in his final years, he sat down and wrote one of the most haunting confessions ever recorded, a book called Ecclesiastes. It is not a book of triumph. It is the diary of a man who won every game life offered and discovered too late that he had been playing the wrong games. Tonight, we're going to walk through what Solomon learned at the end, because his regrets might just save you from your own. Stay with me, because the third lesson is the one almost nobody sees coming. Let's start at the beginning. When Solomon became king, God appeared to him in a dream and offered him anything he wanted. Anything. Solomon didn't ask for gold. He didn't ask for a long life or the death of his enemies. He asked for wisdom, an understanding heart to lead his people. And because he asked for the right thing, God gave him everything else as well. Wealth beyond counting, peace on every border, a reputation that spread across the ancient world like wildfire. The numbers are almost impossible to believe. Scripture tells us Solomon received 666 talents of gold every single year. In today's money, well over $1 billion annually. Silver became so common in Jerusalem during his reign that it was considered worthless, like stones on the ground. He built the temple, one of the wonders of the ancient world. He built fleets of ships, cities, gardens, reservoirs. Whatever his eyes desired, he did not refuse them. And that right there is where the story turns. Because Solomon tells us himself, in his own words, I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. Read that again. This is a man with no limits, no one to tell him no. Every appetite fed the moment it appeared. So what happened when a man finally got everything every one of us has ever dreamed about? He tells us. And his answer should stop you cold. He looked at everything his hands had done, all the wealth, all the pleasure, all the achievement, and he called it vanity, smoke, a chasing after the wind. You reach out to grab it, and your hand closes on nothing. Here is the first lesson Solomon learned too late. More is a lie. He thought the next acquisition would satisfy him, the next palace, the next 1,000 acres. But he discovered a law of human nature that no amount of wisdom exempted him from. Whoever loves money never has enough. The appetite grows with the feeding. Every time he arrived at the place he thought would finally be enough, the horizon moved. And if the wealthiest man in human history could not find the finish line, what makes any of us think we will find it with a bigger retirement account or a newer car? Solomon isn't telling us money is evil. He's telling us money is a terrible god. It makes a wonderful servant and a merciless master, and he served it for decades before he realized he had the relationship backwards. The second lesson cuts even deeper. Solomon looked at his life's work, the buildings, the fortune, the empire, and a thought seized him that he could not shake. He wrote, I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or a fool? Think about that. Every hour he traded, every year he sacrificed, every relationship he neglected to build his empire, all of it would pass into hands he could not control. And history proved his fear right. His son Rehoboam inherited the kingdom and shattered it within a single generation. The empire Solomon spent 40 years building did not survive 40 months of foolish leadership. How many people do you know who gave their best decades to building something? A business, a fortune, a career, while the people they were supposedly building it for grew up as strangers. Solomon learned that you can spend your whole life stacking treasure for someone who never asked for treasure. They asked for you, and you were at the office. Now the third lesson, the one nobody sees coming. You would think a man drowning in disappointment would conclude that nothing matters, that we should simply eat, drink, and numb ourselves until the end. And for a while Solomon flirted with exactly that despair. But that is not where he landed. At the very end of Ecclesiastes, after all the darkness, the old king delivers his final verdict, the conclusion of the whole matter, he calls it. And it is stunningly simple. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. After the gold, after the pleasure, after the fame, the wisest man alive reduced the entire meaning of human life to one sentence: not accumulate, not achieve, not even be remembered. Simply this: live rightly before God, because in the end, every hidden thing will be brought into the light. Solomon spent his youth asking, "How much can I get?" and finished his life understanding the real question was always, "Who am I becoming?" He had confused the scoreboard with the game. But hidden inside that famous conclusion are quieter treasures. The small, humble things Solomon says actually made life sweet. Listen to what he recommends after rejecting everything else. Eat your bread with joy. Enjoy life with the wife you love. Find satisfaction in your daily work. Two are better than one, because if either falls, the other can lift them up. Do you see what happened? The man who owned everything ended up prescribing the very things that cost nothing: a shared meal, a faithful companion, honest work, a friend who shows up. These were sitting in front of him the entire time, ignored while he chased the wind. And maybe that is the real tragedy of Solomon and the real warning for us. His regret was not that he had wealth. It was that he had misplaced his worship. He let 700 political marriages pull his heart, step by step, away from the God of his youth. It didn't happen in a day. It never does. It happened one small compromise at a time, each one reasonable, each one explainable, until the man who built the temple was bowing at foreign altars. Drift is quiet. That's what makes it deadly. So what do we take from an old king's confession 3,000 years later? Perhaps this: if you are still measuring your life by what you own, Solomon is reaching across 30 centuries to grab you by the shoulders. He ran that experiment so you don't have to, with resources you will never have, and the result came back empty. The account balance will not hold your hand at the end. The house will not remember you. But the love you invested, the integrity you kept, the faith you guarded, the people you actually saw, that is the inheritance that doesn't rot. Solomon learned it too late to save his kingdom, but not too late to write it down. Which means his greatest gift to the world was not the temple, and it was not the gold. It was the warning. The question is no longer whether Solomon's words are true. The question is whether we will believe them while there is still time to change, or whether, like the old king, we will only understand them looking back. If this touched something in you tonight, share it with someone who is still chasing the wind. And may you find, long before your final chapter, what Solomon found only at the end: that a quiet life, lived rightly before God, is worth more than all the gold in Jerusalem.